we're starting off this semester with a bang. Wednesday night, the Owls at the buzzer.
Win number 12 might be the sweetest so far, with a Temple win over Wichita State.
And I'm Kayla Levine, live from Pearson McGonigal. Later in the show, I'll be discussing Temple's dance team and their trip down to Florida for the national championship. OwlSports Update is live, and it starts right now.
Did you miss us? It is a new semester, but the same duo back on the desk. It's OwlSports Update. I'm Natalie Koranda.
And I'm Paddy Heckard. We have a packed show for you. Preseason lacrosse rankings are out, and Owl heading to compete in the Paralympics this year, and it's February. That means lots of basketball. Women's basketball returned from its southern road trip with a home game against Wichita State. The Owls defeated the Shockers last month and look to make it a conference sweep on Wednesday night at the Leah Core Center. And it took every second to get the job done. Now let's get to the action. Tip-off was set for 7 o'clock, but the scoring came just seconds later. Aaliyah Nelson ended with 13 and gets her first three on the opening possession. Minutes later, Aaliyah gets her second shot of the game, and another three is good. Nelson finished 2 for 7 behind the arc. Now Wichita State with the ball, and Daniela Aby's jumper is good for 2. She finished as the leading scorer with 19 points. Fast forward to the third. Wichita State gets a tough bucket to make it 40-36, but Temple gets back on the attack quickly. Nelson gets the ball to Tiara East, and she cuts right past the defender for the easy 2. Moving ahead again to the fourth. Just seconds left, the Owls down by 2. Tiara East at the buzzer. It's good. Last week, she was just a tenth of a second away from a buzzer beater against SMU. This time, no worries. East is right on time. Final score for the Owls, 66-65.
It was a hard-fought game. That second quarter kind of did us in. Scoring-wise, we weren't able to get stops in the second quarter, but we pulled it out, poised. They were probably more poised than I was, and we pulled out the game. You know, she knocked down that shot. That was the same shot she made at SMU that they called back. So I'm glad she was confident enough to let it go again.
I just know I had to knock it down. You know, people was telling me, oh, you're going to hit another one. So I just took that with me, and I got my opportunity again today and just knocked it down.
Fifth-year forward Aaliyah Nelson scored her 1,500th point in January. It's something very few Temple players have been able to accomplish. OwlSports Update's Sage Leone has more.
Aaliyah Nelson is quickly becoming one of the greatest players to put on a Temple uniform. In January, she became the 10th woman in Temple history to celebrate 1,500 career points.
10-second difference between the clocks. Nelson for 3. That's good. Aaliyah Nelson.
When I came into the locker room, it was a good surprise to see like the 1,500 on the board, and I didn't even know. That's the best way, and I think that just shows how humble I am.
And it doesn't stop there. Nelson is just the second Owl to record 1,500 points and add 500 career assists.
Leah, I've known since she was 10. She played for me at Towson. You know, when I came to Temple, she made the decision to come. She does so many things. I can't pick out one. I mean, we depend on her, and she never ceases to amaze me.
While call time for basketball practice is usually 9 a.m., coaches have seen Aaliyah in the gym working on her craft and perfecting her shot as early as sunrise.
Sometimes it might be 300, sometimes it might be 200, some days it might be 100. It really just depends on how I feel, like how my body feels.
Nelson's hard work has not gone unrecognized. She is a 2-time Big Five Player of the Week. There are 9 games left in the regular season, which means 9 more games for Aaliyah to climb up the list. With an average of 13 points per game, she could crack 1,600 career points. At the Pearson and McGonigal, Sage Leone, OwlSports Update.
With her 1,500 points and 500 assists, Nelson sits with Fiona Fitzgerald as the only two players to achieve such a feat while wearing a Temple uniform. It's important to note Nelson won't be added to the Temple record books because some of her work was done at Towson. But if you did add up her points at Towson and at Temple, she would likely finish in the top 6 or 7 in program history. This past weekend, the Owls flew down to ECU, hoping to break a 5-game losing streak. 6 minutes in, the Owls down by 8. Jordan Riley drives to the basket and slams, but crashes on the landing. But don't worry, by the second half, he's back up, and this time slams it in, sticking the landing. Going late into the second, the Owls now up by 8. ECU's RJ Felton sinks one in on the fast break, starting to close that gap. In the last 5 seconds, the score is tied. This game is about to end with a layup, but it is blocked by the Pirates, sending this game into overtime. 2 minutes into overtime, ECU with the ball, the Pirates take the lead with 2. Now with 4 fouls in the last 3 minutes of overtime, Temple dug its own hole. ECU wins 70-64. The losing streak for Temple stands at 6.
Following the end of last season, the men's and women's basketball teams found themselves in similar positions. Both teams had lost at least 6 players from its rosters, and both looked to rebuild through the transfer portal.
You know, when we got the job, there was really only 5 guys left on the roster, so you have to have a roster to play at this level.
5 coming back, 7 leaving the program, either graduating or via the portal. Either way, Coach Fisher in his first year knew right away the only way to rebuild this program was through the portal.
So you go into it and you start looking at all these different guys, you get a long list of whose names are out there, and you start doing your research and you start watching a lot of film and making a lot of phone calls and trying to figure out again who's the best fit for Temple.
And the women are really no different. Even in Coach Richardson's second year, she walked onto the court with 3 returning starters this past fall. She filled the 2 holes with players from the portal.
And obviously we lost some players that were pretty fast, so we needed to definitely look for somebody that could be agile and then to help us in the post position, which we were a little deficit in the post last year.
When combining both teams, Temple University has added 8 new players from the portal this offseason. The players have proved to be important. These players are averaging 23 minutes per game so far this season.
Arrived here one day before school started, but everybody made me feel really welcome, the coaches and definitely the teammates, because I know it's not easy to bring a new guy in this late when you've already been together for so long. So
it can be a dream come true, but the transfer portal can also be a nightmare for programs on the losing end. Coach Richardson might find herself in the same position next offseason, with up to 7 upperclassmen potentially leaving after this season. But first things first, both teams still have a lot of work to do this season. Both the men's and women's team are on schedule this weekend with a doubleheader on Sunday, both on the road. The women will face off against the Charlotte 49ers at 2 p.m. The men will travel down to New Orleans to play Tulane later that same day at 4. We are up against our first break of the show. Coming up, the AAC preseason polls are out.
Plus a new segment is on the horizon, and we'll explain. But up next, an interview with Temple Owl, who is selected for Team USA in the Paralympics in Paris this summer.
All the signs there and all the people there, and I have a lot of family coming up that I don't normally get to see. So having everyone there to support me on this huge adventure is what I'm extremely looking forward to.
Welcome back. Temple's rowing team will be back on the water on March 16th for a scrimmage against Rutgers. But the Owls are 1 member short this season.
Junior Gemma Wallenschlager has been a key player for the Varsity 8 boat, but she has other plans for the season.
Gemma has a foot abnormality called talipes equinovarus, also known as a club foot. She was selected to compete in the 2024 Paralympic Games in Paris at the end of the summer. We sat down with her to get her thoughts on this incredible achievement.
It was like a 1.5 to 2 years of building up for this and like waiting for this moment. So last summer, or I guess this past summer, is when I first officially made the team, the like para-national team. And that was a huge achievement to begin with because I got classified in like October, and then I was just like, every single workout, every single race was like, this is one step forward to making the team, and this is going to set me up to make the team. And then making the team and being in the double this past summer with Todd was awesome. And we raced in Paris and raced in Serbia, which was so fun. And then we trained in Boston all summer. So doing all of that definitely helped like lead me up and got me that international racing experience and all that like being on the national team experience. So that was an amazing like first step. I think being a student athlete in itself is already going to be hard work. You're already trying to juggle your sport and your academics, and you're trying to perform the best that you ever can be in like both. But in addition to that, like having a physical disability where you have to put another effort in like your mental side. Like I was seeing TUL like once a week to make sure that like, because I have to overcome like my insecurities of my physical disability and things that people have said to me in the past. And like, there's that whole side of like, I want to prove them wrong, but like, I need to protect myself kind of side. And then there's a whole nother part of, I have to put in all these extra work to make sure that my foot can handle the work that I'm doing. So I spend numerous hours a week in PT, in the AT room, doing exercises, stretching, and taking care of it. And there's a lot of things in that aspect. Having like USA like on my chest again is what I'm extremely excited for, but especially to do it at the highest level that like you can get to and to represent them there. I'm so excited to go to Paris. So this past summer we actually raced on the course. So I kind of know it. So that's really nice. And I know the area, but to do it with all the signs there and all the people there. And I have a lot of family coming up that I don't normally get to see. So having everyone there to support me on this huge adventure is what I'm extremely looking forward to.
Before securing this spot on Team USA, Gemma has had quite the career. In 2023, she competed in the World Rowing Championships and walked away with a silver medal. She was also named to the All-AAC First Team, as well as Temple Women's Rowing Athlete of the Year. Although she will not be rowing as an owl this year, we will all be cheering her on at the Paralympic Games this coming summer. Good luck, Gemma.
In the build-up to the 2024 lacrosse season, the AAC has released this year's preseason poll. OwlSports Update's Xavier Adams is at the studio set to tell us what to expect from Bonnie Rosen and company. Hey, Xavier.
Thanks, guys. Preseason poll for women's lacrosse is here, and the Owls are sitting at third. James Madison is the top pick as the Dukes won the regular season title last year. Florida is picked to finish second, and the Gators ended up winning the postseason tournament. For Temple, the Owls are returning veterans Katie Shallow, Belle Mastro-Pietro, and Mackenzie Roth, who were unanimous preseason all-conference choices. The Owls are hoping to bounce back from their 7-9 season in 2023. They should be looking again to rely on their stout Temple defense that forced 110 turnovers, with 23 of them coming from Shallow alone. The Owls open up at home on the 10th versus Colgate. In fact, Temple's first 7 games are all at home. They don't travel until March 8th during spring break. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Xavier Adams. Back to you guys on the desk.
A new semester means a new segment for this duo. So we want to tell you about something we're working on. In our next show, we will highlight anything from breakout performances to Temple athletes on fire.
All to show you who's on our radar. Make sure to tune in 2 weeks for our first segment of the semester.
We are at our last break. Our own Kayla Levine is live from Pearson McGonigal Hall to tell us about an award-winning trip to Florida for Temple Spirit Squads in a national competition.
We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. The Temple Spirit Squad competed at the College Cheerleading and Dance Team National Competition in Orlando, Florida in mid-January. Both teams achieved amount of great success and even made some history along the way. There was a lot to cheer about down in Florida over winter break. Temple made some history at the College Cheerleading and Dance Team National Championships. In the game day routine, the Diamond Gems finished a program's best 4th, while the cheerleaders finished in the top 5 for a 7th straight year.
It feels absolutely amazing. Knowing that we went out there in the D1A category and placed that high and made Temple history was actually unreal.
This national competition put Temple against some big schools from coast to coast.
You step up. 1. So the competition level is really high, especially in the category that we're in. We compete in the collegiate level of the D1A category because of our school size.
The cheer team's 4th place finish in the game day routine set a record. The Owls are now the only program in the country to have finished in the top 5 of this category in every single season since the category's inception 7 years ago.
It says a lot about the work that both my teammates put in as well as our coaches.
Temple Spirit Squad and Diamond Gems practiced for months preparing for this competition. They practiced 2 times a week and for 3 hours straight. Their efforts secured them both 4th place wins in nationals.
I'm just very proud of our team because we really did come a long way from the beginning of the season, especially since none of the girls have really, or I guess I could say half the team has never really competed at nationals before.
Over 50% of the cheer team consist of first-year athletes, and that resulted in many of them having to master new skills in a short period of time.
I think that the biggest challenge that this caused was that we're all not only from different teams, we're also from different all-star or high school backgrounds, so just getting everyone on the same page about the same technique, same motions and everything was definitely a big challenge. But
both teams are back at Temple cheering on both basketball teams. You can catch the Spirit Squad next Thursday at the Leah Core Center against Memphis for the men's basketball game. Reporting from Pearson McGonigal Hall, I'm Kayla Levine. Back to you guys at the desk.
That wraps up our first show of the semester, but the coverage doesn't end here.
We have another full week of shows ahead of us, starting on Monday with the Sports Brief on socials. Tuesday, Courts in Session is back with Hayden Bandel and Jake Gable. And 1 week from today, OwlSports Update will return with a new anchor duo, Meg Doyle and Michael Merville.
For all things Temple Athletics, we are one-stop shopping. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.